Hello, CC. Thanks again for hitting me up about these questions that a lot of people have out there. I appreciate it, and I have no problems. In fact, I'd rather get more of these answers out there to people that are interested to maybe find the real answers that we're all looking for. I'd like to introduce to those of you that don't know, this is Devon Carroll. Devon was also a team member with me on our former search team that we were on. He was the lead cameraman slash producer on that trip, and he was actually in the boat with me when I found Kiely. So I've got him with me today, helping out, and he can also help answer some of these questions because he was there the entire time, and he may know the answers to some of these better than I do because we were slightly in different spots at different times. So thanks for helping me out with this, Devon. Appreciate it.
Thanks for letting me help. And we want to be clear, first and foremost, we are going to answer the questions to the best of our abilities and truthfully to the facts that we know. So, we're not going to speculate on what other people did, on, what the intent was for X, Y, and Z. We're just going to answer them as we can. Think that's good?
Yeah. That's about it. So without further ado, let's get into it.
First question. How many dives did they really do at Prosser Lake?
One. I did one dive. Once we found what we believed to be the car, when we relocated back over by that little peninsula, I put on my dive gear. I got in the water, and I was only in the water. I've got my dive log here, but it was about 4 minutes total underwater. I would say I was only even in the lake, maybe 10 minutes at most.
I mean, from the time that he touched the water to the time he came out, it was about 10 minutes. Roughly 10 minutes. So next question is, at what time of day did the dive happen? And I believe it was around noon, but that's,
Actually, it looks like
2:24.
Of course, I don't know. I used this computer. This is the actual dive computer that I was using for all those dives. I still use it. But I don't know if I had reset the time for daylight savings or not. But it was somewhere between noon and I'm going to say 1:30, somewhere in that time frame. Midday.
Yeah, and to kind of add to that, and I know that there's a question later on that asks, but I was flying my drone around midday to be able to see the vehicle down in the water. So that's why I say around noon, but it was midday. Midday is probably the most accurate we can say to that. On what days did they dive at Prosser? I don't know the exact date. You probably have it there, but it was just
August 21st. And I don't know exactly what day of the week that was. I'd have to look at my calendar. I don't know if that was a Saturday or a Sunday.
Right, but we parked there the night before, and the day before we had cleared a few other lakes, as you saw in the video. Next question. Why did we load all the boats back into the trailer and take it to Kiely Point? I'm assuming Kiely Point is where we found. Right. Okay. Why didn't they just leave one of the members on the water while the others went back to get the RV? I kind of have an answer to this. We were trying to be as subtle as we could. And by leaving somebody on the water and circling around, it could have drawn attention, more attention. We had some other people of media traveling with us, and they were trying to get the scoop, get the story, and we just wanted to make sure that we weren't alerting them. And so we were just moving the RV in the trailer to get a better angle and put in at a different part of the lake so we didn't have to travel as far, according to everyone else. The real reason is we were just trying not to stir up commotion.
Right, because again, once you find what you believe is a vehicle underwater, you don't want to raise any red flags until you can confirm that. So at that point in time, we had a suspicion, but we were still not able to confirm it. So that's when we loaded up, moved our whole setup over closer. Basically, logistical purposes, it was easier to maneuver, put dive gear on, and get to the spot from the trailer than it was clear from the bow ramp.
And those boats are terribly heavy. I mean, with two people, it's easy enough for us to maneuver them. I mean, we do it day in and out for a month straight. So it was nothing for us to throw it in and go around because we wanted to stay as a unit as much as we could. Before going to the RV, We weren't sure if it was a car or a boat. However, once back in the water at Kiely Point and before Nick even did his alleged first drive, how did we know it was a car, that it was Kiely's car, that they found Kiely's car, that it was a crime scene, and that a car had a license plate on it? So you can answer this one.
Yeah. So that one's kind of all over the place.
It's long. So essentially the question is, how did we know it was a car or not? We didn't, but there were two telltale signs. One, a magnet stuck to it. Most of the boats that are going to be in that lake are either fiberglass or aluminum. They're not, or stainless steel.
Right. And we also noticed the shape on the sonar did resemble that of a car. So
we were initially unsure, and I remember when you and I scanned it at first, we were just kind of skeptical that it would be anything,
right?
Because we knew that the lake was scanned prior, and so we were just doing this as a cursory search. And so when we saw it, we were just like, could it be a boat? Could it be a car? Right. And then we got a second set of eyes on it and verified as well, just to make sure, because it was kind of a high profile deal.
Right. And so we didn't actually confirm it was her car until we actually dove on it.
And that's the whole reason for the dive. Right. It doesn't take much for us to get into the water to dive on a vehicle or even a boat, but just to verify. We didn't know if it were a crime scene. We didn't, that's, again, all the whole reason, the whole answer to your question is we dive on it to verify. We dive on it to find out
right.
all of those answers, all those questions. The video shows both boats were still in the water when they put the buoy in the water before going back to get the RV and trailer to dive to Kiely Point. However, once they get to Kiely Point, there is no buoy in the water and only one boat is put back out on the water. So what other footage scenes in their video are faked or staged at Prosser? Omitted footage. We didn't show the footage of us taking the buoy off. The whole point of us taking the buoy off was to not draw attention to the thing. Again, lots of eyes were on us. Lots of eyes were on the lake. So we were just trying to be subtle again. The buoy was just not to draw attention, and we knew we could find it again once we got around to the other point.
Right. And to further go on this one, I said, what other footage was deleted or whatever?
Or fake stage scenes.
Right, because the fake stage scenes, there was no such thing. But you got to realize we film everything. So if we were to try to make a video out of 20 hours of footage, how far do you think it would watch that? You basically put in the important parts. Some of this wasn't taken out for no other reason than to make the story
fit within a time frame.
Right.
And to add to that, we had minimum 2 cameras, if not 4, two on gimbals, one in the air as a drone, a GoPro. So it's really easy to get tons of footage, and there's no way that people would sit through all of that when it comes to a production. However, there was a scene that I would say was staged where a member was walking out of the trailer, and it was a one shot that one of the other cameramen wanted to get, and it was just to add flavor to the video. But that was before we knew anything. That was before anything took off.
Yeah.
What does Nick regret more, taking part in staging the fake footage or getting caught staging the fake footage after the video was released?
Sorry, it's hard not to laugh at some of these questions. So, first of all, there was no fake footage, and because there was no fake footage, nobody's been caught for faking footage. So I don't know where that came from. I don't know how to answer that, because that's...
it's ultimately, if you're skeptical, you're going to remain skeptical. We're not here to lie to you about anything. We have nothing to gain or lose from this.
Right. In fact, if I had something to gain for this, I would have done it on my own channel. I'm doing this to try to help, because I know Cece is well more connected to this case than I am. I'd like to know what happened too, just like everybody else. So I'm doing everything I can to try to bring any questions that I may be able to answer to help with that. That's all.
All right, next question. Who was contacted first after finding Kiely's car? Was it the family, police, or management?
It was family.
Family first. Wholeheartedly family. I can expand upon that a little bit. Dad and Grandpa were on scene so fast, ridiculously fast. Like Dad came roaring up on an ATV, and He was just searching in the trees in the area. So they were the first ones to know.
Yep.
Who posted on Facebook at 2:28 p.m. that they had found Kiely's car? I have no idea.
I have no idea. That's above.
I can tell you that
I did.
I can tell you that I was angry that the post happened.
I didn't even know it did happen.
Yeah.
To be honest with you.
Yeah. Anyway, who was in the air balloon when it was flying and hovering over the car at Kiely Point? So I'm not sure if somebody was in an air balloon over Kiely Point. I went up in the air balloon first thing in the morning. That was happenstance. The air balloons were just a couple of enthusiasts, a couple pilots who came out, literally 2 air balloons, and they were just playing
It
around.
just happened to be where we parked in a parking lot there the night before to find a place to basically go to sleep. We woke up in the morning to these noises outside the RV, and it was the sound of 2 different air balloon teams setting up these air balloons, hot air balloons. And so that was something we didn't know about. They came, you got to realize this is in the Lake Tahoe area. It's a touristy place. There's a lot of stuff going on. So apparently it's popular for these people to use that spot as a hot air balloon launch site.
Mm-hmm. As far as being in the air balloons, getting into the air balloons, I was woken up by one of the other members and was told, hey, grab your camera, there are air balloons outside, hot air balloons. And so we went out and just filmed because it was a cool scene, for us to just see in the morning. It wasn't going to be added to the video. This is for our own stuff. And I actually have a shot of one of the people on one of my YouTube shorts. And you'll see, I think it was the 2022 recap, and there's one of the ladies who's shooting flames into her hot air balloon. So our enthusiasm got us invited aboard the air balloons, and I took it as an opportunity just to at least look above. It wasn't anything more than what our drones could see.
Right.
We're coming in for a landing, especially if it's a high wind landing, face the direction that we're traveling. That way you see what we hit when we hit it. And hold on in 2 places. There's the rope handles here, the tops of the tanks, the uprights. And by holding on and having your knees slightly bent, you get to follow rule number 1, which is what? Stay in the basket. Number 3, ballooning's a sport to share. I'm sharing it with you, sharing it with folks on the ground. If you see something cool, point it out to me. If you see something that scares you, tell me so I can be scared too.
Really, there wasn't much more to that scene. I mean, it was we just went up, we came down. I got Josh to go in, and then he got carried away by the wind, and we started our mission because the guys who are doing the hot air balloons said, "We'll go get them. You guys do what you need to do."
Right.
All members were awake by 6 a.m. and they never got in the water at Prosser until 10:41. Besides washing in the lake, eating breakfast, and having a few 20-minute air balloon rides, what else did they do between 6 and 10:41 a.m.?
So first of all, wash in the lake. I don't know what that. We actually have. There was a bathroom provided in the RV, and when you have 4 or 5 guys staying in an RV, it takes a while for everybody to do their personal hygiene, eat some breakfast, brush your teeth, that sort of thing in the morning. So like any other job, we kind of had let's start at, say, 9 a.m. is kind of a target. So you get up in the morning and you spend a couple hours kind of getting ready, just like most people do at your normal job. You don't just wake up 15 minutes before you start work. You get up and you've got to take a shower, get dressed, eat some food.
For those that are on camera, they have to prep, make sure they look good.
Yeah, and I don't know where they came up with the 10:41.
So that sequence I mentioned earlier, there was a timestamp sequence, and that was something that we were just trying out. We had done it on a couple other shoots, and we were just trying to see would it add something to the story. It wasn't anything more than just like giving people a time scale as to how long it took us to do things. So 10:41 was when they were walking out of the trailer, that scene of them walking out to the boats, and they said, it's 10:41 a.m. We're about to get on the water or something along those lines. What is the name of the person that was bleeped out in the video that allegedly got into an altercation with Kiely at the party? No idea.
I have no idea either. That was something that was spoke on a different boat, and it wasn't something that afterwards. A lot of people might think that we would all huddle and discuss everything that was going on. That was not the case. Me, I was basically a trainee. There was people above me that were making decisions and doing things that I didn't really question because I didn't know exactly what was going on. I was just doing what I was getting paid to do, and that was search and trying to find missing people.
Simple as that.
Yeah.
They claim that they only did one dive at Prosser. So how long was Nick underwater for on this alleged dive?
4 minutes.
4 minutes, and it was one dive. Nick said that he could only see 5 feet in front of his eyes while underwater at Kiely's car. So where did all the light sources come from as seen in their video?
Well, we have 2 lights, as you can see, on the full face mask. That's how we light it up. Plus, we were only in, I think it was 14 feet of water at the deepest part.
Right.
And the lake had 5 feet visibility compared to what I'm used to. That's actually really good visibility. So the light still makes it down there.
Yeah.
It wasn't pitch black. It wasn't super, it was kind of shadowed and hard to see inside the vehicle, but outside the vehicle, it was pretty good visibility.
Yeah, visibility does not translate directly to light transfer. It can still be illuminated pretty darn well. And then also these cameras are really good at operating in low light. Not that it was.
Right.
How many other divers were down there with Nick? None. It was just you. When Nick descends, there's a big splash at the bottom left of their video. Nick's hands were empty when he descended. So what is the item descending beside Nick that caused the big splash?
Now, the other day when we were reading this question,
I read the question.
Right, I was telling him, I was like, well, we had 2 lights, one on each side. When I came up from the dive, I only had one. I lost one of the lights down underwater. And so that, I don't...
Could be the light.
Could be the light that's splashing. I don't know. I don't remember a splash on that, but...
When Nick begins his descent underwater, he descends for the first 5 or so feet and then rolls forward into a face down dive before reaching the car. How did Nick magically descend underwater feet first?
First of all, there's nothing magic about it. This is a good question for those of you that aren't scuba divers. So I've got my little training aid here to help demonstrate this. When you descend on a dive, you're always going to be in the upright position like this. You wear a thing called a buoyancy compensator, which is a vest, fills up with air, it keeps you positively buoyant. When you deflate the air, now you have weight that'll sink you underwater. The air goes to the top where the hose is, and it'll only drain if it's upright. So you drain water there till you get fully submerged underwater. Once you are fully submerged, then you rotate your body horizontally, so now you can see the bottom and continue your descent like so. So I hope that explains it.
And real quick, as well, your weight system is at the center of your mass, so it actually creates a nice little pivot point for your body.
If you're trimmed properly, you'll stay perfectly, almost like a skydiver coming down.
Yeah.
So that's how you do it. It's not a magic thing. That's textbook.
Where did we go? Is there a possibility that Kiely is still alive and the body found came from a local morgue / elsewhere? That's not something that we would know, but we're not ones to speculate. I believe that it was Kiely.
Absolutely. I mean, I don't see any reason why somebody would put her same car, her same license plate, and a person in it that would resemble her.
Matches the
wouldn't the medical examiners?
Well, and she was positively identified as well.
Right, and so that's beyond what we have control of.
Could you see well enough that it was not a mannequin?
I'm pretty sure it wasn't a mannequin. Again, the medical examiner, the other divers that came in after me, I would think they would have verified whether it was actually a person or a mannequin, unless the entire, all the law enforcement, medical examiners, media, everybody involved is part of a cover-up. I'm pretty sure that it was actually her.
Would Nick say who were the people in the photo shown to Nick, the AAA guide?
No, I'm not gonna say. it's no different than anything that anybody's speculated. I don't want to point the finger at anybody because I don't think that has anything to do with the information there. If it was spoken of, is not going to miraculously break this case. Again, and there's another question somewhere in here, but since we're on this topic, and we've discussed this, like when Nick came to us and told us his story, in his mind, he believed what he saw and who he saw was real. Am I skeptical as to exactly who he saw? Yes. But in his mind, he seemed to think that it was the real deal. So we chased that as if we were going after. Let's see, how do I want to rephrase that?
No, I got this. So Nick's information was accurate according to him. We had no way of verifying it, and the only reason we captured it was that it was just so wild to be approached while we were buying, SSDs to store footage at a Best Buy parking lot. That we just decided to capture it and try and verify later. So we could not verify what Nick was thinking. However, we had no reason not to believe him and his girlfriend, who was on scene as well. She was corroborating a lot of the information that he was sharing. But again, we didn't have the footage, but it would have been silly of us not to record at least that interaction as he's trying to tell us what he believed was true.
Right.
What was blurred out behind the driver's seat where Kiely Rodni is not located? Kiely's in the very back, so is this something else?
I don't remember it being blurred out. They might have blurred it out thinking that if it was part of her there, they didn't want to show that for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
Just courtesy, common decency.
I have no idea what was blurred out, and I haven't watched the video anytime recently to verify any of that.
Right.
Kiely's remains were found in the back seat. I believe, is it possible that she floated back there from the driver's seat? This is a good question for you.
Yes, it's absolutely possible that she floated back there from the driver's seat. It's not uncommon, and I've since gone to some continued training on this type of thing. I've gone to underwater criminal investigator course, master underwater criminal investigator course. I've recently gone to aquatic abuse, death, and homicide investigation class. That was a 3-day course. I learned a ton of stuff there. So yeah, no, it's not uncommon for people to be in the very back because for different reasons, if it's an accident and they go in, most of the time the motor's in the front and it'll go in like this and it'll slowly sink with the front going first because of all the weight. And now you have an air pocket that will continue to go. And so the person or people inside will be fighting to stay in that air pocket. So they'll continue to migrate towards the back. So it's not uncommon.
Mythbusters did a really good episode on this. And they showed how Adam, he crawled to the back to try and keep as much air as he could.
Right.
Kiely's remains were found in the back seat. I just read that one. What was the conversation with Dad and Grandpa on the shore? So I can speak to this a little bit. So I had ears on the situation because we're always listening to the microphones and stuff. Basically just trying to console them. It was purely just, we believe we found her vehicle and you don't want to be here when the vehicle's pulled up. This isn't how you want to remember her. So, if Dad or Grandpa are watching, again, my condolences to you guys. And it was a pleasure to meet you. And yeah, I mean, that's basically it.
Right.
Nick, was the information given about Nick or from Nick? Oh, the tow truck driver interview confirmed. We just kind of answered this. Can you guys say that he actually went on a call that night? Was the video from where was the video?
We have no way of verifying that.
Right.
We were hoping that somebody would, or the police would say, hey, we've checked into that, and just so you know, that was false, or otherwise, so we have no idea.
We captured the footage because in the moment, you have no other reason not to. It was just, it's always wise to capture first and then verify as you can go.
Right.
We just never got the opportunity to verify. unfortunately.
Now, on that note, too, I want to say that Devon and I had no say in how any of the videos were edited or what made it to the final print. That was above us. There might have been some stuff that we might have thought maybe this shouldn't be in the final edit, but again, that was never even quite, we never got asked, and then we had no say in that.
Why have you chosen to remain so silent? If it's for legal reasons or don't want to be dragged into some consequences or repercussions down the road, please just say that.
Well, first of all, we haven't been silent. I've been on many interviews. I mean, the next day we did TV interviews. I've done YouTube interviews. I mean, again, these questions that we're answering, I feel like aren't going to give anything that's like, aha. Because of that, we can now solve this case. There's really, I'm speaking out now again to talk about this in hopes that there's people that might think that we are withholding information that might say we're not, or at least nothing that we know. We can't speak for anybody else outside of Devon and I that was part of that team. We don't know, but as far as we know, there's no withheld information that would help break this case, in my opinion.
Nothing that we say right now is going to change the information that's already out there.
Right.
We're speaking to the best of our knowledge and just kind of reiterating what's been said before. But again, we wanted to be transparent, answer these questions for you guys, and give context as best we could. Could you see any more of the body other than lower legs or feet with or without shoes?
No, I could not. I just saw basically from just below the knees down. You see pants, socks, shoes. I only could really verify one because of the angle of it. It would be like you looking at this leg here, you can't really see this backside, especially in a dark shadowed vehicle.
Do you have any input as to how long you thought the car appeared to have been in the water?
Oh, no, not necessarily. That's a tough one because most of the stuff that I've ever encountered in the past has been super old cases or old stolen vehicles that you can tell have been there quite a while. Now, I could tell that the car had definitely been there for more than a few days because there was a little bit of algae growth on kind of a film on some of the windows. And there was wildlife, swimming in and out of the vehicle. So it wasn't like it had just gone in, but as far as exactly how many days, I have no way of verifying that.
And I don't know that there is a way because each lake each lake and river is its own biome and going to have different stages and rates of algae growth and stuff. Has Nick learned any more or had any other further questions from law enforcement since your interview? What interview?
Yeah, I don't know what interview they're talking about there. They never really interviewed us. They asked me a few questions as far as depth. Is that the view? Yes. We showed them the footage, and then that was it. We had lunch with them a few days later because they wanted to ask us. They wanted to see our equipment and how we basically found her, what practices we used, and that was the only interactions I've had with any of the law enforcement that were part of that.
Yeah. You can go back onto Placer County Sheriff's Facebook page and you'll see a photo of us together. That's when we had lunch with them. On a scale from 1 to 10, what's Nick's best probability, thoughts on suspiciousness of Kiely being in the back? Was it considered trunk of the vehicle?
On a scale from 1 to 10, at the time I was fairly new to, that was my very first one of like a fresh incident, something that was that new. So yes, that was a little suspicious to me, her being in the back. I've since learned that that's actually not uncommon at all. There were other things combined with that made the whole situation suspicious, but we'll go into that later. There's another question, I think.
Did Nick feel by the treatment to the team that law enforcement wasn't taking this as a possible crime scene? Did the number of people walking through the scene bring question as being add to Nick and the team because of contamination along with no gloves used? Okay, that was worded a little funny, but I think the question here is, law enforcement, were they treating it as a crime scene once we found the vehicle?
Yes, they actually, once we showed them the footage, they kicked us out and they flagged it off. I wasn't super experienced at all with crime scenes, so to speak. So there were no red flags at all, in my opinion. It was just, it was more of shock that I'd found her and that the whole thing was happening like it was. So I didn't feel like the law enforcement were being negligent in any way. I felt like they were actually doing their job to the best of their ability at the time. And I don't know exactly what agencies were all there. Most of them didn't have logos on. They were wearing polos,
Polos and khakis.
There could have been FBI, multiple sheriff's departments, detectives. There was a lot. I don't know exactly who they were.
And to be clear, they weren't rude to us. They simply just said, okay, we need you guys to leave because it is now a crime scene. To remove any further contamination.
Right.
But yeah, they weren't rude to us, but they did take it seriously and they kept everyone from getting close to it. Of course, the footage that you guys saw, we were able to park where we had started the day before, we were able to park where we had started that day, and then hike back through the woods to get down across the water from them. So, it wasn't an area that they cordoned off. We were already there, and that's why you guys got to see that side of it. Was there any uncomfortable feeling perceived by Nick that law enforcement gave off pressure to not go out further into Prosser Reservoir to search? No.
No, not at all.
No. I believe we were just told, we had searched it, you're free to search it.
Right. That was it.
Are you aware, Nick, of law enforcement spending a long period of time taking video of the scene underwater prior to the car being brought out? Did you see any law enforcement videos?
I am aware of them I watched, there was 2 divers they sent underwater after me to do their initial investigation. And what happens there is they would take cameras with them, take video and good photos of the whole scene. That's why it takes a while. Then they would come out. Was I able to see that footage? No, they haven't shared any of that information,
nor will they.
Nor they probably won't. And again, there's another question in here, but while we're talking about this, they kick out, if you're not law enforcement or an invited party, it's common practice for them to kick you out of the scene. Why do they do that? I don't know for sure. I can only assume it's a liability thing. Do I think it's necessarily the right thing to do? Not necessarily. If you have people that are an expert in a field that you're not, it might behoove you to actually keep some of these people on site, but they don't do that. And that's beyond our control. We have no say over that. We're just volunteers doing our thing. So hopefully that clears up that a little bit.
Besides the fact that Kiely was in the back of the car, what gave you the impression foul play may have been involved?
First of all,
yes,
I never said foul play may have been involved. So I don't know where that came from. My words were, it looks suspicious. And the reason I said that was not just because she was in the back of the vehicle. There was a lot of things that went on there. The main thing being that when I found her on sonar, Devon and I saw that it was this big, obvious shadow that I could see using sonar. And so when I finally dove on it to confirm it was her, I was thinking, how in the world could anybody miss this? It stands out like a sore thumb. So then your mind starts going, is there a possibility based on the conversations that we heard from Nick, the roadside assistance guy, seeing her possibly the day after, that maybe somebody put the vehicle back or put the vehicle in the lake after it was already searched? So, you know what I'm saying? To put yourself in my shoes of what I had encountered and then finding out like this doesn't add up. So yes, it was suspicious for several reasons, not just that Kiely was in the back of the car.
But making sure to make that distinction, suspicious, foul play.
Yeah.
2 different things.
Correct.
The former team are experts at water retrieval of vehicles, so why did law enforcement allow the team to do it? Law enforcement made a mess of it. We kind of answered this a minute ago.
Yep.
It's their scene. We're not going to get in the way of law enforcement doing their thing. What exactly did you see when you saw the shoes? According to the autopsy, she only had one on and the other was off with a sock on it. Was she recognizable in the water?
I showed you what I saw was basically right there, So she might have only had one shoe on. I verified there was at least one on, and that's it.
Do you think she was murdered? What about her being passed away before she entered? What did she? Who did she fight? Who did she fight? Again, we're not going to answer who she fought. We don't know, and we're not going to speculate on that. Do you think she was murdered? No. And we're not going to speculate.
I agree.
Yeah. Nick, the private investigator said that you guys took him into the trailer and shared the underwater footage with him. Is that true?
I don't remember him being invited into the trailer. If I remember right, there was only me,
only law
one other cameraman that had the footage on his laptop, and there was like 3, maybe 4 law enforcement agents, and they could have been from various agencies. And that private investigator guy, he was there with the dad and the grandpa, and the only interaction that I had with him, he came up to me and he said, I got all my little logbook from that trip right here, and I've actually got right here. So he came up to me and he thanked me for finding her and verifying that. And he opened up his wallet and he pulled out a business card and he handed me his business card right here. And he said, thank you. And he handed me that. And he said, when this all settles down, I'll see to it that you get your reward. And that was the last interaction I had with him. So I don't remember him being in there to see any footage.
He also happened to claim that we used his drone footage, and no, we didn't. We had our own drones. We had our own pilots.
Yeah, I never saw his.
Yeah, we have no idea what he's talking about. How long were you underwater during the discovery of the CRV, and did it take more than one dive? We answered this.
4 minutes, one dive.
4 minutes, one dive. Is there more footage of your underwater dives and inside and out of the CRV that did not get released?
Not really.
I mean, total time from time of touching water and then coming out, the GoPro was probably recording for a max of 10 minutes.
Right.
And inside the car, once you saw the feet, you pretty much were done.
Yeah, I went to the front window, and I think that was that the passenger side that might have been halfway? I don't remember now. I'd have to look at the footage again, but
yeah, it was the passenger side.
But yeah, once I verified that there was a human remains inside and it was her car, my job was done. I got out of the water.
Mm-hmm. Okay, sorry. It says, and if yes to number 39, we have like 55 questions. About how many minutes / hours of video has not yet been released and why it hasn't been released publicly. Again, we kind of touched on this. There were 20 plus hours of footage probably recorded that entire day. Not all of it is footage that gives any information.
Right.
It's just, we're cruising around in a boat maybe. Underwater stuff, it has no relevance. So the reason why it doesn't get released is relevance, and
right.
It's just nothing. Do you or any of the former team know more about what happened to Kiely or how the CRV got into Prosser than what was publicly released or stated? And if yes, can you share any of that?
No,
I have no idea.
We would like answers just like all of you.
Mm-hmm. Why do you think the license plate on the CRV appeared so clean given the wheels and tires, wheel wells on the same car appeared so rusty, old, and silt covered?
I never really paid attention to that, but again, something that's been underwater in muddy, silty for maybe up to a couple weeks. versus what was on it before it went into the car. I'm not like an expert on.
Well, and it was a dusty, dirty road to get out there too.
Yeah.
Who knows how dirty the car was before it went into the water? How much of it cemented? That's all speculation. So
I don't remember the year of the vehicle either. So.
it was newer. It was a newer CRV. Okay. From your experience, is that to be expected or not on the car that has been submerged for 2 weeks in a lake? Oh, that's kind of a continuation. Was all of your underwater footage shared with the FBI and CHP in addition to or instead of local law enforcement?
I don't know who all has seen it. There was multiple people in that trailer when we shared it. We also gave a copy on an SD card to them, so they still have all that footage.
Yeah.
It wasn't exclusive to us.
Right. Why in the 9/2 publicly released video did the former member say while standing at Prosser boat ramp that this was the location of the last phone ping by Kiely Rodni? It is quite a distance from where the media claimed the last ping was, and Ellie did not, or never said where. Okay, this is again, it was relative, right? The cell phone towers aren't going to give an exact location. This was probably one of the closer water features to that cell phone tower, and that's probably why that former member said that.
Where he said that, he could have been referring to the lake, not exactly where he was standing at that time.
Right. It was more broad. It wasn't precise.
And again, though, that's our opinion because we weren't the person that said that, so I don't know. I can't answer to that 100%.
After 15 months have passed since you interviewed Nick G, the tow truck driver, what do you make of the authenticity of his story about his 8/6/2022 AAA encounter at Boca? His story later told by him about the disappearance of his dash cam video of that encounter and about the circumstances that led Nick G to find you guys at Best Buy at night on 8/19. And have you ever, gosh, it's so long one. And have you ever questioned his authenticity about all that? And if so, why?
Yes, I've questioned it. But again, it was one of those things when you have a potential witness making a statement, you have to kind of follow up on it as if what they're telling you they believe to be true. So again, we've already kind of touched on this. The way that story was told to us, in his mind, he believed it. Whether it's 100% accurate, hopefully we'll know, because apparently there was footage that was captured and nobody can seem to get a hold of that footage. So
yeah, and that's not on anybody in relation to this event. I don't believe Nick would have destroyed his own footage. We had no access to the footage, so I wouldn't condemn Nick for coming forward with information.
Right, and neither of us. I don't know about the others, but I'm assuming it's the same. But neither of us have spoken to Nick since that interview. That was
right. Yeah, that was the last time we ever saw him or heard from him. Were you ever approached by anybody to sign any kind of NDA? Were you offered anything, money, gifts, fame, etc., or threatened in any way in exchange for silence on this case? If so, what were you offered, or what was the threat and by whom? So I'll start this a little bit. We can't speak about the former team or any of that stuff, for obvious reasons. But in regards to the Kiely Rodni case, nobody approached us. We didn't sign anything. We haven't stayed silent. This is the first time I might be appearing on camera, but it's because everything was already said by Nick. Right. So everything that we're talking about, again, is public information. None of this is secret, hush, secret squirrel, revolutionary stuff.
Yeah, I would agree.
Okay, this is a multi-parter. Find it curious that you saw human remains seemingly only through the small rearmost side window, but not through the considerably larger rear window. Hypothetical question: if you had carefully peered into the rear window after knowing what was back there, the window above, or in this case below the license plate, and assuming the window was clear of lake debris and algae, would you have been able to see the full length or most of her body, or was this something other than algae or lake debris blocking the view from the rear window such that only the feet/head of the body could be seen from the side?
So basically the vehicle's upside down like this. If you saw in the video, I actually did try to, because looking through here, I saw what appeared to be a pair of shoes. And so to get it in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, that could be her shoes on her feet. So I went around to see if I could get a closer look because I saw that it was in the back of the vehicle. And then you see in the video, I actually wiped the window because there was growth or like dirt or
Some film.
on there, and I thought maybe I could wipe it away. Well, I couldn't. That's why I went around to this window here where I peeked in, and that's where I could finally see and confirm that there was somebody in the vehicle.
And then the second part, was her body mostly laying down against the roof of the car, meaning that her body had sunk as far down as it could go in the upside down vehicle? Or was her body instead positioned mostly against what would be the floor of the cargo area, which be in the floating position? Perhaps a more simple way of asking the question, the same thing. When you saw her body through the side window, were you looking mostly at what would be the underside of her torso or above her? Was she floating? Was she saying?
She was positively buoyant. That's why her feet were hanging down.
This one we can't really answer. What was the text message that was received in the middle of Prosser?
Yeah, I don't know. That was somebody
No
else.
idea. We weren't there either. Was there anything else suspect about the car other than deceased in the rear hatch with one window totally open and the other half open?
No, the car was one part of the puzzle. Again, the fact that we found her so easily when apparently the place had been searched by multiple organizations, multiple boats, multiple scuba divers, that was more suspicious to me than anything.
Right. When you interviewed with Nick G about him, possibly seeing Kiely on Saturday morning, did he at any time specify the make and model of the car? Was that never mentioned? The full video is released, I believe. It's like an unedited version.
Right.
I don't remember him saying the exact make and model of the car, but he said that he saw it on the flyer and it looked like the same vehicle.
Right.
Did Nick see her face to confirm that it was Kiely without a doubt?
No.
Does Nick feel that the car was in the water the whole 2 weeks? Does he think that it went in at night of the party? Can he confirm it was Kiely in the vehicle? And did he/they really give all the information to Dad, Grandpa, SF that SF has tried to pass off as if it came from the former team?
I don't know what information from our former team got passed on to SF. I have no idea. It wasn't me. I didn't pass on any information, neither did Devon.
Information to Dad, Grandpa?
I have no idea to verify exactly what 2 weeks underwater looks like in Prosser Reservoir that particular time of year when the water temperature is 73 degrees, or what it looked like prior to going in. So that's impossible for me to answer. I mean, it looked like it had been under there again for several days.
Yeah. This one's kind of funny. Hi, CC. Good to hear from you. One for you. Why should we trust Nick? One for Nick. What was the text message that was received in the middle of the process saying in regard to the fight? Again, we don't know. We weren't there. It wasn't our text message.
Why should we trust Nick? Well, I guess if you want to be, skeptical, that's fine. But again, I don't really have anything to gain by doing this. If I thought it was going to get me some clicks, I would have put it on my own YouTube channel. Again, I voluntarily answered CC to answer these questions to help people understand the realities of what we saw that day or during that search. I would like to get the answers too. So if any of this helps, please, I would think that rather than reaching out to just me or some YouTubers to try to get some answers, put the pressure on the local law enforcement in the area to give a statement. Most circumstances that I've researched when something like this happens and they finally get done with their case, they make a public statement saying what they believe happened. I'm not aware of any of this. So put some pressure on these people to give you guys some answers and not, just assume that they're hiding something. If they are, they need to get pressure. They need to give some answers. And since they're not, that's why I'm coming forward to give any information, hoping that maybe it'll put some pressure to clarify some things, because we all want to know what happened.
And this is the last question. Was there anything else suspect about the car other than the deceased in the rear hatch with one window totally open and the other half open? Again, I haven't seen the video recently to verify which windows were
windows
open.
were a little suspicious to me, because I heard the night that she went missing, it was raining out, so I thought it was a little weird that windows are down, or one was all the way down, one was halfway down on the opposite side of the vehicle. Again, yeah, there's a few things that are still suspicious to me. I've gone through several different trainings since then that I've learned a lot. One is that I'll share with you statistically on some very smart people that have been doing this a long time. Have done some research, and they found that basically when it comes to people drowning or finding a deceased person in the water, out of all those, about somewhere, I think it was over 90% of those are male. And out of that 90% that are male, the ones that end up being a homicide or foul play is a very small percentage, perhaps maybe 5 to 7%, if I remember right. Well, now out of that total, let's talk about the females. If 90+% of all water deaths are male, that leaves about, say, 7 to 10% female. Out of those, about 2/3 of them end up being a homicide or foul play. So just based on those statistics alone, I feel that there's more to look into when somebody ends up in this situation, that you can't just write it off instantly and say, oh, I guess it's an accident, she accidentally drove in. I think that's, you got to be open-minded to all the possibilities when something like this happens.
Again, not to cast any doubt on any one situation, just the answers are still out there and we don't have them.
Right. So hopefully that helps clarify some of these. Again, Cece, thank you for everything you've done and are doing. And I know we are working together behind the scenes to continue to do some research on this case. And hopefully someday either somebody will figure something out that'll shed some light on this, or the law enforcement will come forward and give us kind of their interpretation of what they think happened.
For those of you that sent in questions, that are continuing to ask questions, thank you. You know, we appreciate it. We appreciate that you guys are still looking and searching for the truth. We may not have new information, but this is as accurate as we can present it to you. But you know, we're going to continue to search. We're going to continue to do our own investigation, and we appreciate that you guys are continuing yours.
Absolutely. And thanks again, Cece, for doing this. And thank you, everyone, for watching. And just hope everybody stays safe out there. And we'll talk to you later.
We'll see you on the next one.